Welcome back to another episode of CXTV. We are here in Baltimore, Maryland for Charm City Cross, stop number 3 in the Trek USCX series. Bill, what do we got going on in this next race?
What we have is the men's elite race. We've had Andrew Strommyer and Eric Bruner just basically holding serve for the first 2 rounds. So they're completely tied in the series. Is exactly what we want to see, and we're going to look at them to put on the fireworks again today. Behind them, we have a really nice battle as well between Tyler Clark and Kerry Werner. Both those riders looking for 3rd place, I think, now with the series halfway through. And then, you know, all of our young guns out there, Dylan Zakrajcek and Jules Van Kempen and Tofik Bashir and that whole crew looking to integrate into the front of the race. So we should be having an exciting one out there today.
Hopefully I'll figure out what to do with my hands. But let's get into the action.
We're at the start of Charm City Cyclocross, day 1. You can see the ground, it's a little wet. We finally got a little bit of rain, maybe not as much as people were hoping for, but it definitely made the conditions trickier. Everybody changing their wheels out. You can see Kerry Werner there on a more aggressive tread along with Eric Bruner as they contemplatively wait for the beginning of this one. Andrew Strommyer showing off that new Nationals Champs kit. Cody Scott looking for that mustache power there in this race. Tyler Clark, a podium favorite as always in this race as our field lines up to start this one. You can see the rain coming down as we shoot through the trees for the beginning of this race, and a little bit of an issue there, actually a big issue for our Comp Edge rider. That's not a good way to start this race. Coming through, though, his teammate Eric Bruner leading the way with Andrew Strommyer in 2nd, Tyler Clark in 3rd, and Cody Scott 4th place, as the rest of our men's field works their way through the first couple turns. 2 flyovers on this course. This is that one that they just went over is on the start and also on the finish, so 2-way traffic in that flyover. They come through it and head towards pit 1. We're not 30 seconds into the race, and you can already see the storyline that we've seen in the past. We have Andrew Strommyer and Eric Bruner just a couple bike lengths off the front. Kerry Werner taking up the early charge to try to bring them back as they head through pit 1 into the flyover for the first time. Lots of steps here on this flyer, 26, 27 steps. Got Strommyer coming in 2nd, Bruner leading the way, Jules Van Kempen coming through about 10th or 12th place as the rest of our men's elite field finishes the flyover on the first pass. This is Club Row. Tricky section. Normally when it gets a little wet, going through that up and around the end of it can be a hard right turn to keep on it. And this is the part that we want to keep our eye on, this long stretch up towards Mansion Hill. This is a little different than in years past. It's they took away Curtis White Boulevard, but they put this maybe Bruner Way in here. It's some paved section that could be a little slippery, but Eric Bruner should be able to take off on that route from the Wagner statue all the way up to Mansion Hill. This little down from the off-camber on Mansion Hill is just for the UCI racers on each day, so giving it a little more difficulty to come up. You can see the power that has to go into getting onto that Mansion Hill, and we'll talk about that a little later as this race develops. But right now we got Eric Bruner up and out of the saddle, putting in a big effort. Strommyer on his wheel. Werner is doing everything he can not to let them go. He wants to be up there. Tofik Bashir, a little bit of trouble around that turn, but that guy's got a lot of power coming out of it on the other end. He's able to close it back down onto Werner's wheel. Tyler Clark, little trouble as well, going a foot down through the turn. I think that's really because of these wet conditions. Again, I don't think we're going to get mud, but it's just going to make everything a lot more slippery and really have riders concentrating on their handling. Through this green oasis wooded section, there's a little bit of a dip in the middle of there, adds for some nice turns and twisty bits in that section. Coming up towards the end of the lap, this is another climby section. The elevation on this course is really deceptive. I mean, you can see it. It's just a rolling hills everywhere, but you don't necessarily think about like hills at Charm City, but you are just climbing the whole time, and it's really, really challenging for these racers, especially at the speeds they're going. Cody Scott, Jules Van Kempen at the back of the line. Okay, end of lap one. Bruner still leading the way. Strommyer in second. Scott trying to make contact. Jules Van Kempen looking like he's getting dropped off a little bit as the rest of our chasers come through. I think that was Ben Frederick leading that group. Lap 2, Strommyer goes to the front. He wants to take over the pacemaking from Bruner. Bruner, a little bit of a slip on the flyover as they make it up and over. Those steps are really narrow. I mean, I got a size 14 shoe. I don't fit on those steps. I know that's not everyone, but they are really, you got to make sure that you're hitting each one, or it's really easy to miss one, especially when you are running and trying to race at speed. Up and around that the tricky turn I was talking about, the at the top of Club Row, Strommyer taking them through. And this is it. This is the launch pad that we were talking about up to Mansion Hill. Strommyer is being tactical here. He wants to be in front of Bruner on Mansion Hill. This is the conventional wisdom at this course. You want to lead this feature, especially as we get into the race and the laps start ticking down, because if you're first there, you can sort of power through the rest of the course and have a good chance of coming to the finish first. You know, it's too early to talk about that now, but just seeing those tactics in play throughout the first race. It's also, if somebody goes foot down on this section, you don't want to be behind them. Strommyer making the right turn. This is a really steep decline. Again, you just don't get the true nature of how steep that section is until you're there in person. Heading back towards our Oasis. Strommyer leading, Bruner in second. Tyler Clark in that familiar position, trying to close up the gaps. Tofik in fourth place, Kerry Werner and Jules Van Kempen. Van Kempen looked like he was getting dropped, is right back in it, actually moving up into this lead group. This is a really nice group that we have going here in the race as they make it through these off-camber sections at the top of the course. Bruner back in front, up to the planks. About half and half for riding versus running. Bruner leading the way up the flyover this time, and this is a strong group. This is what we want to see at the front of our races. Makes it for exciting watching as everyone's coming through together. And as soon as I say that, we start to see what we've seen in every round so far. Just a little separation between our two front runners. You know, between Bruner and Strommyer, you're looking at multiple Pan American championships. I think Bruner has 4. Strommyer has won a national championship at every level and is the current elite national championship as they come around the frog and descend one more time. Clark is starting to get distance a little bit. He's about 2 seconds behind. We got Jules Van Kempen also starting to get distance a little bit with Kerry Werner on his wheel. Bruner with a little look back, seeing where everyone else is, seeing what damage that him and Strommyer have been able to do to the chasers as that battle, which has gone on since week 1, continues up front. Kerry Werner with Jules Van Kempen on his wheel, and here we go. Look at Strommyer getting low, getting in an arrow position, just using Bruner's power to his advantage, especially on the one slight downhill section that we have on this course. Into that Oasis again, Bashir starting to get off the back a little bit, losing that group. Here are your comp edge chasers. I'm going to guess that's Drummond and Zakrajcek. Those guys have been racing each other all season so far. Cody Scott also might have been one of those guys. It's Tyler Clark, not the same pace. You know, you saw the speed of Bruner and Strommyer as they came through there, and Clark was just seemed like a couple ticks slower. Bashir still in chase mode as we're looking at lap number 4. And, you know, as I'm talking through this, it seemed like Bruner and Strommyer were really far ahead in this. It looked like they had already broken the elastic, but not the case. Tyler Clark has worked hard and is able to bring that back in. And, you know, we have a group of 5 still 4 laps into the race, which is really nice to see. You know, those 2 front runners aren't able to get that separation that they have in these past races. I think that this Charm City track really lends itself to group racing, which always makes it for some really fun and good. Oh, as soon as I see a Bruner going down in the turn right before the planks. He was setting up for the planks, slippery, got that rain on there, and he just washes out in the turn. Then that has him on the back foot. So now we got Strommyer. Knowing Bruner's gone, is off. Tyler Clark second, Kerry Warner third, Jules Van Kempen. And now we have Bruner in fifth place with Bashir thinking, well, if this guy has to get back in a hurry, that's the wheel I want to be on. Strommyer, look at that. That was 2 shots from the club row to not under a minute later onto this. You can see the pavers here on this climb, the climb that we thought that Bruner would use to his advantage. Strommyer used it as just a launching pad to get 10 seconds right away on the chasers. He's already halfway across Mansion Hill. Tyler Clark just entering now. And Bruner is stuck back there. He's not able to respond because he still needs to catch the chasers to get back into this race. So huge effort by Strommyer in the perfect place, as we see Bashir having a little bit of trouble as that Mansion Hill just gets more and more challenging. You can see great look at the gap there. Strommyer coming back while Clark is still on the top. We're in the second half of this race, so this is the kind of time where you can start ticking down the laps, and if Strommyer knows he has that gap, he may be able to ride out this one to the end. These chasers know the same thing. We now have a group of 3. Bruner still struggling to get back on there. Bashir on his wheel. They're looking for that second place position right now, the battle for second. It may be too early to say that, but that looks like what is happening here. We got Clark, Werner, and Van Kempen all together. Pretty big gap as they come across pit 2. Oh, that was actually, I'm sorry, that was Bruner in there. Bruner had to stop in pit 2. Took a couple seconds in there. He was actually, we'll see it here in a second, it looks like he was getting a shoe change. So problem with the shoe, Bruner having to go into the pits, not a bike change, but an equipment change, getting a new shoe, and that's really going to put him on the back foot for the rest of this race. Werner, Van Kempen, Clark through, Bashir still trying to catch back onto that group. And here comes Bruner. Look at the feet. He's got one blue. He's got one white. I think that's heterochromia is what they call that. I don't know if it's for shoes or just eyes. But Bashir still trying to catch back on. Solo Bruner coming through. But the fight is up ahead. Something that he is unfamiliar seeing. Just unfortunate situation. One with the slip and then having to fix a broken shoe. No unfortunate situations for Strommyer out front. He is just rolling at this point. Huge gap between him and the rest of the field. He can just kind of dial in his turns, maybe think about what he needs to do tomorrow. And look at that. Tawfik Bashir, who looked like he was dropped, was struggling around this turns, has been able to fight himself back into this chase group, being led by Clark. They can see Strommyer coming back as they still have some work to do going ahead. Clark having to go foot out again. Every time he does that, he's leading. That means that Kerry Warner has to let up a little bit. And every time they do that, that means that the leader is getting that much more ahead of them. And at this point in the race, I think that this group of 4 is looking for position. We see Jules Van Kempen moving up. I think that they are looking at each other instead of Strommyer, and that has allowed Tawfik to come back to the group and to really reintegrate himself and give him a chance to get on that podium. Clark and Werner, Van Kempen on the wheel, and Tawfik right there, back in the battle. Bruner not giving up. He's going to give it all he has to the finish. Just unfortunate with that shoe change. Took him out of contention for the win, but still going to fight for every position he can. Strommyer rolling. Behind him, this is the battle. This is what we're watching. These 4 are not taking it easy. You know, we look at some other races, you know, even in Rochester when it might have been almost like a group ride out there and they're just looking at each other. That's not the case with this race. They are battling each other and they are going hard. And that's why Bruner, arguably fastest guy out there, is not able to get himself back onto this group. You would think normally with his power that he'd be able to reintegrate himself, but that just tells you how hard that they are going in the chase. Up and over the planks for Strommyer, up the stairs. He's got little feet, so not a problem for him getting up there. His shoes fit. Bashir, the only one riding in a little bit of an issue. I mean, it was getting riskier and riskier just with the ground conditions in that area, but able to control the bike and make it through, stay on there, and continue to have a chance for that podium. But Jules Van Kempen now taking over the chase at the front. Bruner just alone with his thoughts behind. Nothing really that he can do at this point. Just kind of get the positions that he can, make sure that nobody behind him catches up. Van Kempen continuing to push the pace. This is really good from Jules. We've seen him sitting in the elite races, sort of in that chase group, but this is the first time we've really seen him take control. Up this long climb to Mansion Hill. This is it. You think Mansion Hill is hard, but it's hard just getting there. The approach is just as bad as the off camber itself. Up to the top, to the single track. As this is like 3 meters wide up here, but really you have like 6 inches that you're able to ride in. It's just one line. It's single track at the top. If you fall off that line, you're going to slide down. You may have to dismount, which means you'll have to run down that hill. So it's really, really tricky and challenging. Real difficult place to pass up top. Van Kempen continues the little tripod around that turn. That's a controlled move. Didn't have to go foot out. He knew exactly what he was doing. Making sure he had enough weight on those tires to get traction around the turns. You can see just a little bit more hesitation through those corners as the moisture starts to make the conditions even slicker. But once it's straight, Van Kempen again, head down and he's moving. Hasn't really done anything to the group though. Clark still there, Werner still there, Bashir still there, and Bruner still going hard, still trying to reintegrate himself, even though it's going to be tough with the little that we have left in this race. Head down again, Van Kempen. This will be his best finish ever if he's able to get on a C1 podium. He's done it in a C2 before. Up and around this really treacherous last couple turns before we get to the flyover. 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go for our chase group. We're assuming Strommyer is just so far out ahead. Not even worth looking at him now. It's sort of in that Max Verstappen land, a couple years ago where you're so far ahead that the cameras don't even worry about you anymore. As soon as I say it, there it is. Up and over the flyover for Strommyer. Van Kempen still leading the way. Clark on his wheel. Werner, much smoother trip for Bashir behind. And you can see the gap to Bruner. He may be closing it down a little bit. Not as far back as he was before, but still just, I'm sure, what seems like an interminable gap. There it is. Under 2 laps to go, and he's just slowly trying to pull this group back in. It'd be amazing if he could get back into that chase group, and it would certainly change the dynamic having your Pan Am champ along these folks. Nice strong effort by Van Kempen. Once again, he's really used that lead up to Mansion Hill to his advantage. Continues to lead. Clark seems happy to let him do so, or it's hard to know what's going on. Kerry Werner, wily racer in third place in this chase group, 4th place overall. You always think he's got some cards up his sleeve, trying to figure out what he has to do. But Van Kempen isn't going to let these guys have that opportunity. He is just keeping the pace high, making sure that nobody can attack him. If you're going fast and everybody has to struggle to keep up, all you're doing is defending against attacks. Coming through pit 2, Van Kempen up and around, out of the saddle, putting in another effort. And this is the first time we're really seeing some space between him and the chasers. It looks like Van Kempen may have done it at this point. About a 2-second lead over Clark, who's not able to close it back down. Those guys working hard, but Jules Van Kempen out front with a lead at this point that has not shrunk for the last about minute, and putting in another dig up and out of the saddle. Here comes Bruner. He's seeing those chasers. He's like, oh, maybe I can get onto that group of 3 now that Van Kempen has left them. 1 lap to go. Strommyer not slowing down. Oh, look at that gap. That's Jules Van Kempen. Tyler Clark, oh, looking behind him. That's a great sign for Van Kempen behind, knowing that the chasers are looking at each other to see who's going to put in the work to get him back into the fold. Kerry Werner says, all right, I guess it's up to me. He goes to the front for the first time all race in the chase group. Werner's up front as Van Kempen up and over. Werner and Bashir now chasing. It looks like Tyler Clark has dropped off. That's the first time that we're seeing Clark not in the fight for a podium position. There he is, just a couple more seconds back. He's going to have to worry now about Bruner coming up behind him. Back to Mansion Hill. This is where we get a great opportunity to see the gaps. You can see Van Kempen with what is becoming a sizable lead. It's kind of funny to say when you see it on there, but just for how hard that section is, those are more seconds than what is illustrated in the space between the riders. All right, Werner starting to pull away from Bashir. He's looking for that 3rd spot in the podium now as Van Kempen is a couple turns ahead. Bashir, he has been just this progression. He's been stuck on 6 places. He'd love to move up from there, would love to get on the podium, but a 5th or 4th place also would be a great result for him. But I know he's not going to be satisfied with that and still trying to chase down Kerry Werner up ahead. This is our most dynamic battle, as it looks like Strommyer, we're not even seeing him anymore. I'm sure we'll see him at the finish line, but unless something catastrophic happens, he's going to be taking the lead. And Tofik Bashir catching and passing Kerry Werner in the final lap, and looking now possibly to come back on Jules, but nice move by Kerry to try to make the pass. Tofik's able to shut it down that time, but not the next one. Werner knows that these difficult off-cambers are coming up, but let's cut over to Andrew Strommyer taking the win. Easy one for him today. Jules Van Kempen keeping that lead for 2nd place. Your battle for 3rd place continues on. Bashir right on the wheel, but man, if you get in front at this point in Charm City, it's really hard to come around. It's just the flyover and the sprint left. Van Kempen out front. He, assuming he makes it up and over the flyover smoothly, he should be able to take 2nd place. Kerry Werner on the flyover. They come down. Bashir is just on his wheel. And this is where the sprint happens. And it's really hard because you get that little jump coming onto the dirt, onto the pavement. Bashir trying to come around, both of them on the tops. And it is Kerry Werner once again holding off Tofik Bashir. He did it in Roanoke. He does it again here in Charm City. There's your winner, Andrew Strommyer with Bashir, talking about how that one went down. Amazing race for Jules Van Kempen, 2nd place. Huge result for him in this C1. And there are the rest of our top 10 Charm City Cross Day 1, 3rd round, Trek USCX Series. Let's hear from our winner.
Tough weekend last weekend, racing coming into this one. What's the mindset, and then what's the mindset after it just kind of became easy after a while?
Yeah, last week was pretty tough. Just after winning both days at Go Cross and then showing up and not really having the legs. I mean, it was kind of expected. Last week was a big training week. I think it ended up being 22 hours, so a lot of training. So definitely felt that in the end. So this week, backed it off a little bit and came in a little fresher. Still didn't know how things would go. I mean, after last week and not really being able to ride with Eric, but yeah, it felt good today on a course that suits me well. And yeah, the conditions, some rain, made it a little slick. We actually had to focus a little bit on driving the bike, and yeah, it was a nice race.
So yeah, we were chatting about the 22-hour week. What is typical for you going into, like, I'm preparing to race, not to train?
Yeah, in like a week preparing to race, it's more like 13 to 15 hours. So quite a bit less. Usually a 30-minute spin in the morning. Like this morning, nice 40 minutes from home. So that was nice. Last week it was 2 hours in the morning before the race. So yeah, just trying to get that fitness level up. It's a long season and don't want to peak too early. Want to really push that till later in the year to try to come into the European races a little fresher. So yeah.
Race is already in hand, but you put your fastest lap in the last lap, and it was that. Did you know you were doing that? Or was it try to put some efforts in, or what was the plan there?
Yeah, there wasn't much of a plan going into the race. It was kind of feel it out, hang out the first 2 laps, don't make mistakes, stay at the front, stay smart, and then yeah, just waited. Eric made a mistake, and I pushed on, and yeah, pushed hard for a lap and established the gap pretty quick, and then settled in. And through the middle part of the race, I really tried to be smoother on the bike and yeah, maybe not use as much energy I was trying to be very calm on the bike, just speed fast around the corners and smooth, and I ended up actually going faster, so that was nice. But it's hard to do in the races a lot of times because you're going so hard. And then yeah, after 4 laps of riding alone, I was like, all right, maybe yeah, put in a fast lap. Like, this is the best way to train is yeah, come out here and you're in the race and your legs are tired, so put in the effort now, which is hard to replicate in training. So wanted to really put in one last effort.
I like that you said that there really wasn't a plan, because I asked your coach, I was like, what did you tell him? And he said, stick to the plan.
Yeah, that's nice.
So I guess you did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there wasn't much of a plan, just go out there and race my bike and race to win. Like, yeah, hang out, don't make any mistakes, and I don't know, just read the race and then determine what to do. I find, yeah, when I try to make a plan beforehand and then you try to do that plan and then it doesn't work, like last week on day 2, I was like, I'm gonna go hard from the start, and then Eric's still with you and you're like, oh, this is not great. Now what do I do? So yeah, going and being fluid is definitely the way to go.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to the Substack write-up on this one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Got it. I was like, Mike, what?